I've always thought it's an interesting question when you have a band or artist that release is that album that becomes epic and blows them up. Could be their debut album, could be their third or fourth album. But when they release it and it just blows, can they follow it up? Can they sustain that success? I got a band in mind that I have to talk about. Great band. Came straight out the gate with an amazing, epic album. But they just weren't able to do just that. Follow it up. And that's the band Candlebox. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back, music lovers, especially my rock music lovers. That's right. Thank you very much for coming back. Listen, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so right now. Absolutely hit that button. That will help me in this channel grow. You know the drill. YouTube puts me out there to a more vast audience. In the end, that is good for me and the channel. So please, do that right now. Candlebox. One of those bands that came out of the Seattle, Washington area when grunge music just exploded. And really, the best way to relate it is you can think about all the hair and glam metal bands from the 80s. When that trend and that fad started to explode, it was like going to a candy store when you were a record company. You were looking for that next band to sign. You were just looking at all these bands that had the image, and that was pretty much it. If they could play the instruments and they had the look, there was a good chance they were getting signed. And there was a lot of great bands from the 80s in that genre, no matter whether you want to acknowledge it or not. Some people don't. I do. It's a great moment in rock music history. Now, it gave us a lot of things to grow on, which when we got to the 90s, the thing that we learned was it was just time for something new. Nothing against those bands in the 80s. But as grunge started to explode, it was the same thing. You had bands like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Mother Love Bone, Green River. I mean, all these bands that came out of the Pacific Northwest. You were looking for that next band once Nirvana exploded and just made grunge what we know of it as. Candlebox is one of those bands. They were there. They're from that area. They knew the bands. So it wasn't hard to get an in per se. But when they released their self-titled debut album in 1993, it was definitely that of epic proportions. Four guys from Candlebox started playing together in 1990. You had singer Kevin Martin. This dude, I'll be honest, dude has an awesome voice. Had an awesome voice then. Still has a pretty damn good voice now. Guitarist Peter Klatt. You had bassist Barty Martin. And then you had drummer Scott Mercado. These guys, these four guys, they kicked ass straight out the gate. And they started at a prime time. 1991, that is when they started playing a lot of live shows in the area. By 1992, they were playing most of the hot spots in Seattle. This was the time when grunge was king. That part of the country was king. You hear about people going out to Los Angeles to start bands and blow up, and then certain things you'll go to New York City for, two of the biggest cities in our country, and two of the biggest cities for entertainment. Different reasons, but I mean, if you want to blow up and be big in some aspect of the entertainment business, you're going to those big cities. But at that time, in the early 90s, what grunge did, you were going up to Seattle, Washington to try to, blow up with your band. It was absolutely amazing. Now, they were playing these clubs regularly, and they ended up signing a deal with Maverick Records. They did was it 8 or 9? I think it was an 8-track EP. It was an 8-track, pretty sure. Fact check me on that. But it was a 9 or 8-track EP that got them signed by Maverick Records. Maverick Records was pretty decent back then because they also signed Alanis Morissette and her band, and they signed the Deftones. So, not bad for Candlebox within a 2.5-year span. Now, with help of working with Maverick and Warner Brothers Records, Candlebox released their debut album July 20th of 1993, their self-titled debut album. Now, this album, right out the gate, it sold over 4 million copies, peaked at number 7 on the Billboard charts. That's huge. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. People want to say, number 1, that's an accomplishment, and it is. Jesus Christ, to hit the charts, period. You release something that's getting noticed. And for only starting a band 3 years prior to now releasing a debut album that's selling millions of copies and hitting the charts, man, that's got to be like one of the most amazing feelings in the world. For me to even have anything I can equate to that, I can't think of it. This, what I'm doing right now, I haven't even reached that point of success where I can say, this is what I'll equate to releasing an amazing debut album. But I feel like I'll get there one day. But just imagining that feeling is absolutely insane. I mean, they released 4 awesome hit singles. The song Change, You, Cover Me, and obviously their most well-known song to date, Far Behind. But Far Behind by Candlebox is an absolutely epic song. It's a classic. It's just an amazing rock and roll song. And for the times, at least that time, it was amazing. I mean, that song hit the Billboard charts, entered at the top 20. Matter of fact, it stayed on the charts. From the album's release in July of 1993, it remained on the charts till January of 1994. God, that's and absolutely worth it. Amazing song. Their most well-known song, obviously. I mean, and you can't say they're a one-hit wonder. They got some amazing songs. The song You, another single off of their debut album, an amazing song. But for me, if you go listen to the debut album, there's a song called No Sense on there. That song is so freaking amazing. And I mean, man, dude's got some chops. I mean, these guys know how to play. They know how to sing. They did everything well. And when you call them grunge, because they literally came from that area, they related and mingled with those bands. They were friends with a lot of those guys in those bands. They came out of that area. I mean, they could definitely be classified in that, but you know, it's just something about the way that the public wants to label and categorize certain people. A lot of people put them as post-grunge. I mean, who cares what they are? They were an awesome band, and they released an awesome album and awesome songs. Far Behind is definitely an epic song, no doubt. And this success got them a great honor. They got to open for Rush on one of their tours. Man, you're telling me I've been in a band for 3 years, and now I'm opening for Rush? That's mind-blowing, man. I could imagine these guys and the feeling they had when they got that news, and then going on tour with them. Not only that, they got to go on tour with Metallica while they were touring. They opened for Metallica. They opened for Rush. Just the feeling that these guys had to have was absolutely amazing. And that's what you get when you hit a home run on your first try. The doors that open up for you. It's epic. Absolutely freaking epic. They also got to do the main stage at Woodstock 94. You want to talk about 3 amazing things. And that wasn't it. They weren't done. But that's definitely a good appetizer. Those 3 things for what was coming next. Like I said, a lot more was coming. And if it wasn't enough playing with Rush, playing with Metallica, they also played with another one of the most amazing bands in rock history, Aerosmith. So right there, 3 of the most amazing bands. And there's so many of them in rock history. But Aerosmith is up there. Metallica's up there. Rush is up there. And then, of course, they played with some amazing bands that were just like them at the time, up and coming. Band like Living Colour, The Offspring, Radiohead, The Flaming Lips. I mean, literally, you just this whole new world opened up, and you were now got to consider yourself, okay, we're obviously a good band. You know, Metal Edge magazine gives them an award for Best New Artist in 1994. I mean, Candlebox was at that point, at this time, where you say, okay, we're clearly a good band and we can create good music. We're getting so many opportunities. But, and it's a but, that question comes up at that moment. That's the moment that question comes up. What are you going to do next, and can you follow it up? This is why I say Candlebox is one of the best examples of amazing success and what can you do with it. And there's plenty of them, but as I look at it now, Candlebox is one of the best damn examples out there. You think about the release of this self-titled debut album, the huge success, Far Behind. They created one of the most classic rock songs of the 90s, maybe one of the classic rock songs of all time. Just depends what type of music you like and who you are. But, you know, at that point with that success, these guys had nearly 40 new songs written, and they were well prepared to do their follow-up album, which they eventually did release in 1995, Lucy. And this album sold almost 500,000 copies and was certified gold. Nothing near in comparison to their debut album, which is 4 times platinum to date. But, they didn't release another album until 1998, Happy Pills, which didn't get certified, but close to 300,000 copies. And after that, they released 5 more albums all the way up until 2021. So when I say they're the perfect example, literally, and you think about what they did with this debut album, there's everything about it screams classic album, awesome band, staying power, maybe. And that's when you look at the history of rock music and maybe music in general. They did something amazing with that self-titled debut album. And it's not out of the norm to release a follow-up album, your sophomore album, and maybe not do as good as the one prior. And if you get another album that's certified, that's, to me, damn well a success. But I think when the question really arises is when you release that third album and that fourth album. Do they at least, keep that steady pace? Does it get you back up there? Some bands, they'll release that awesome album, drop a dud, and then release something that just completely overshadows anything they've ever done. Something way more epic. And that's what separates the great bands in rock history from the ones that have great moments in rock history. And this is clearly one of those. Candlebox is one of those bands with their debut album that had a great moment in rock history. Because clearly their career has done one thing since then. A very slow and steady decline. Not only is the song Far Behind by Candlebox an insanely epic song and a classic, it's one of the few songs from the 90s that was written as a tribute for the late great singer Andrew Wood, who was the lead singer of the band Malfunction, and then later the band Mother Love Bone, which I've done a video about. They were an amazing band. Andrew was an awesome frontman. And then later in 1994, Kevin Martin, lead singer of Candlebox, did an interview with Playgirl magazine where he said that he wrote the song Far Behind as a tribute to 2 friends he had lost to heroin overdose. Now, this is another reason why I love this song. Not only is it a great song, but I didn't know what it was about till later on, because he also did a 2008 interview where he told the person doing the interview, and I quote, "I wrote Far Behind for Andy Wood. I was a huge Malfunction fan and a huge Mother Love Bone fan. I got to know Andy early on in his career when I was working in a shoe store with Susan Silver, who was managing Mother Love Bone, Soundgarden, and Alice in Chains." Now, everything about that quote is amazing. More perspective on the song Far Behind. Not only would you have obviously probably thought it was a great song, now you know the meaning behind it makes it even more amazing. Especially if you know who Andrew Wood is, or Mother Love Bone is, or anything about what led to the buildup of grunge exploding. The bands that ruled the Seattle area before Nirvana took over and became the spokesband for Generation X. Andrew Wood and Mother Love Bone, that was an awesome band. And to know that this song was written as a tribute to him gives it just even more of a power-packed punch. Absolutely amazing. Just another reason to love the debut album by Candlebox. And even more of a reason to love the song Far Behind. Of a way I can explain this moment for Candlebox and really what it meant to pop culture and rock music. If you ever tried to ask somebody, hey, have you ever seen this movie? And you tell them the name of the movie and they say no, they don't know what the hell you're talking about. But you quote a famous line or you say what it's about and the actors, and then that'll, okay, oh yeah, you know what? I know that movie. There's lots of moments like that in our daily lives. If you ask somebody who Candlebox is, a lot of people might not know. If you put the song Far Behind on and let them hear it, I guarantee it'll resonate and they'll be like, you know what? I do remember that song. I've heard that before. And that's kind of the moment they created. A lot of people might not remember the band if you're not a rock music fan, but they created such an amazing album and amazing songs, Far Behind being head and shoulders above the rest, that relate to people and bring back certain memories for a lot of people. And that's the beauty of what they did. Yes, they got put in that awkward position of creating something absolutely amazing, and they had the creative juices there. They loved making music, but they couldn't live up to it. They could never recreate that. Even though they still make music today, they've yet to, well, have that great follow-up to their debut album. It really sucks when it is your debut album. If you go on to create 7 more albums after that and none of them come close, there's nothing wrong with it. You're still doing something that most people probably would love to do. You're doing something you love every day. You're creating music for a living. So, as many people can talk crap about you, I guarantee they envy you. But when it's your first album, it really sucks, because if you create 3 or 4 albums and that 5th album pops, then you're a little deeper into the career, and then you're like, okay, well, we finally created that album. So in the end, it's just one of those situations where, you know, you hate to be in it, but you'd also probably love to be in it. At least I know I would. Just to have at least gotten the chance and then actually create something that's that amazing that will go down in history and people will be able to talk about and remember. Why the hell would you not want to do that? But anyway, it doesn't matter. What they did was amazing. Nobody can take that away from them. No matter if they ever follow it up with anything better, it'll always be there on that timeline of rock music history. But anyway, go out there and take care of your friends and family. Do something amazing. I cannot stress it enough, and I cannot stop encouraging anybody out there. Go and do something you love. Whatever it is you love, if you really love it enough, don't think it's just a hobby. It doesn't have to be. It can be the thing that makes you a living. And if you make a living doing something you love for the rest of your life, there's nothing that can be more rewarding than that. I mean, come on, let's be honest. Please, I encourage you, go do something amazing. Create that Candlebox debut album moment in your life with whatever it is. You just can't be scared. You can't be timid. You got to jump off that cliff sometimes. Not literally, but you know what I mean. Till next time, take care of yourself.